Don't touch my levels now.
Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Songs That Made the Movie on the Scratch the Track podcast, presented by the Dude and Grim Show. I am the Dude.
And I am Grim. And today we are going to be discussing the songs that made the movie Boogie Nights.
And man, there's a lot, dude.
Dude,
a lot of songs.
So this is our second installment of this spin-off series of the Scratch Track podcast presented by the Dude and Grim Show. And the first one being Pulp Fiction. And I talking about that movie, I'm like, man, the music is just so pivotal in this movie, and there's so much of it, and there's stuff that didn't make the soundtrack. And let's just stick on that line. There's stuff that didn't make the soundtrack. And then I watched this movie through again, and then looked at the soundtrack, and I was like, wow, whoa. Did they leave some shit off?
Did they? You know, Graham, and I think before we actually get into everything that they left off, we should remind everyone who's watching this right now.
Don't leave us off.
Like, subscribe, and comment below. No, don't leave us off. So, now that you've liked and subscribed, and Grim has marked it so he knows where to put in that cue. Yeah.
We go.
Well, they did come out with a first version of the soundtrack. And I think there's 12 give or take songs on it, and there's a lot of really good ones, but then there's some that they left off.
Oh yeah.
But what's really cool though is that they came out with a volume 2, and I think they I don't know if you could say they included all of them on there, but
yeah, I couldn't find okay, hold on, it's not like I spent like a day just looking for the volume 2, but you had mentioned it was on Amazon, so I figured it'd be on Amazon Music, and I was not able to find it on there.
So, yeah, but there is a track listing. Yeah,
yeah, and I will say that somebody also did a good job on Spotify of making like a Boogie Nights soundtrack playlist that had everything except they missed "Fat Man" by Jethro Tull.
Oh, yes,
which is played in 2 parts of the movie.
Interesting, and we'll talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Too. The movie also does have a score too by Michael Penn, which is pretty cool. Because typically in Paul Thomas Anderson movies, he does his movies are scored. So Michael Penn does this one. He's also worked with Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead to score some of his movies. So yeah, he typically goes that route. But I think for this movie, I mean, it's cool that the score comes out in little sections in the movie.
Yes.
It's not like prevalent throughout, but you find these little holes and stuff where he can really fit it in, no pun intended. And but for this type of movie, you really need song and music and songs from that era, and he just picked some phenomenal tracks.
Yeah, and honestly, some that I didn't know. Of course, we think of ourselves as some sort of aficionados of music, but there was the one song in particular called Joy. And of course, I'd heard it in the movie, and I love how they use it in the movie. It's like this buildup as things are beginning to happen, and they use it in a couple places. And it's actually, I don't know if you read this, but it's based off a Johann Sebastian Bach piece called Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring. And that's, you'll recognize that. I mean, that's a very familiar classical piece of music, even if you don't follow classical music.
Sure.
And that is what stuck out to me. And I knew that it was Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring upon hearing it, but then I liked where it went. And then I listened to the song in its entirety, outside of how they use it in the movie. And it goes into some other interesting areas too. But that was one that I didn't know. And then I looked it up, and it was actually a top 10 hit in 1972 by an instrumental group called Apollo 100. Fucking sweet name. Sweet name.
Pretty great name. Yeah. Well, I want to take maybe a step back a little bit, and the song or the movie starts off with that with the Michael Penn's score, and it's very quiet in the beginning, and then boom, Best of My Love just pops right in, and you get the lights and everything. And it's cool because Paul Thomas Anderson said that there was so many characters in this movie, and that right away he knew that he wanted to just start this movie off, hit it really hard, and really just wanted the music and the song to hit really hard and then intro everybody. So there's that, long tracking shot where he's going around and everything. In the club. But he said one thing that I thought was cool that he said is he wanted it to be like a smash, a sound. And what he likened it to is Phil Spector's Wall of Sound. Like that's what he kind of said. He was like, I just wanted it to hit everybody really hard. And
this is like the cool disco Wall of Sound. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like that big, but just in the era of the movie.
Sure. And it's really cool. And he does this, Paul Thomas Anderson does this a few times in the movie where there are these sort of long shots or montage shots that are clipped together and everything of all the characters and actors. Like he's kind of constantly checking in with like where, it revolves around Dirk, but he's constantly checking in what characters are doing and whatnot. And there's these almost kind of like long music video montage scenes. It's pretty neat.
Well, one thing I wanted to, and it's not like we're doing a play-by-play of the movie, so it doesn't matter. But no. I mean, he does that really well in Magnolia as well. There's a scene like this, but I would call it like the come to Jesus scene kind of, where it's like it's almost like his version of the baptism scene in The Godfather, where all this crazy shit is happening concurrently. So you get the thing where Dirk Diggler's getting beat up, and Julianne Moore, isn't she like in the room with Roller Girl talking about her?
No, it's Dirk's getting beat up, and then they're in the back of the limo.
And the dude
in the back of the limo.
Your name's Brandy, right? Yeah. And then
it's not just a hole in the wall. This is Roller.
Yeah, and then Don Cheadle's character is like going to get donuts and that, and the cars pass by, and it's brilliantly done, and I love those scenes because it's like and I don't want to sound like a turd for using this word, but it's like kind of serendipitous as all these things are like going on concurrently,
Oh, totally. It's awesome. I love it when there's those tie-ins and cool things that they do. Mm-hmm. It's just nice to see somebody really like think that through and think it out. Yeah. But kind of like you were saying, when you were talking about Joy by Apollo 100, I think the first time we actually see that in the movie is when Dirk comes home after his first night in the club, and he's kind of getting undressed, and we're in his room, and the camera it's playing the score. It's playing Michael Penn's score, and the camera starts to pan and do a circle around the room, and as that's happening, it's cross fading over into Apollo 100.
Yeah.
And then right when it gets back down, or it gets back to Dirk standing in front of the mirror, in his underwear doing some karate. The song comes like full frontal at that point. Again, no pun intended. Yeah. Or maybe. So
now one thing. So I mean, I don't think this would be like doing the White Album if we talked about every song here. So I think that's off the table. But one thing I was going to mention, and I don't know if this was part of the score or if they sampled this, but in the scene that I was just talking about, where basically like the shit goes down, I love how it's just like that single bell tolling the whole time.
Yeah, and it slowly just kind of builds.
Yeah, it's really kind of eerie. The other one that I think builds an amazing amount of tension is the song "Do Your Thing" by Charles Wright. As William H. as what's his name, Little
Bill.
Little Bill is gonna go like he goes and shoots it, as he's like catches his wife.
Spoiler
and then,
alert.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you haven't seen it, dude, it's been out for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Like 23 years, but that, and again, that's another phenomenal scene.
In the music, like it's so gritty, and it's perfect for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love that. and again, it's sort of one of those scenes that even before it, like Floyd Gondoli comes in and he's bringing his new talent. And this is on New Year's Eve in 1979. And the song that I think that's playing, and I really like the intro, is Driver's Seat by, what is it? Sniffing the Tears.
Yeah.
And it's just a great, like, kind of this acoustic strumming opening with when Floyd walks in. He's just kind of like a badass. And then it cuts away. We get introduced to Todd Parker. And then you have Buck and the Blonde kind of talking to each other. Dude. And then Dirk and Amber are doing Blow for the first time. Like in her bedroom.
I know it's crazy, right? Because it's just like there's constant change of music with the scene, and to me, and I guess the scene you're talking about is a party one, but the party scenes always do a really good job of that. Like the first party scene when he shows up at Jack's house, and dude, it's 3 Dog Night. Mama told me not to come. Awesome song, and it's so perfect. Dude. But I mean, within that scene, there's all kinds of. I think, trying to think of, Hot Chocolate is in that scene, dude. I believe in miracles.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's so cool because that's the scene where he gets introduced to everybody. Rothschild. Well, yeah. But they're the ones who develop that special kind of bond. And it's funny because initially Reed is kind of the alpha, and he's like making the margaritas. Oh, how much do you bench? She's like, oh, have you ever been to Vince's?
We'll go at
Oh, no, I would have seen you there. I'm there every day. But one of my favorite scenes and shots is during Spill the Wine.
Yes, the underwater part. I wrote that down with the effect on it too.
Oh, dude, it's so good, man, because they're just playing the song and again, cameras tracking around and probably steady cam shot and just going to all the characters, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're just underwater, and it's just really, really cool, man. Really well,
that
cool.
was something that you hit me to that I never even thought about in movies. But it's impressive, those really long shots that just keep going, because when you realize there is no fuck ups, like that take is that take, and that's it. Like that.
You gotta make sure, dude. Everything has to be right. You gotta make sure the lighting's right. You gotta keep everything. You gotta keep everything in focus, and and then especially when you have a shot where you're like outside and then you're gonna go underwater. It's just like, okay. I mean, obviously there's some sort of underwater housing on the camera the whole time they're doing the shot. I can only imagine what that would be like, how much that weighed for the camera operator, and how that scene was done. I'd love to see a good documentary on that. But
it's just the lighting in the film we're talking about here. So
yeah, no big deal. Yeah, you giving me shit? Yeah. So I'm trying to think, what are some other ones we want to get into?
Dude, God Only Knows is actually an interesting choice for it too, because it's such this like very sentimental love song. And although these characters do have some sort of, I guess, love for each other in some way, it just almost seems very juxtaposed to like the reality that they're all basically like druggies and porn stars.
and they're work colleagues, they're colleagues.
Yeah.
In a different way. But yeah. I don't do that I work for myself, so I don't do that with my work friends. But anyways,
I mean,
So I think there's 2 more scenes I really want to hit on.
Okay.
The first one is when Dirk and Reed go into the studio, because they obviously he's a very successful rock star, and they come up with very successful porn star. Obviously you want to branch out into other creative fields, and music would be a natural like progression, right? I mean, so, and just them going into cutting into it, and it's I guess it's the touch, and which is actually like I didn't really realize this. It's a real song. Stan Bush, man.
I know.
It was in the Transformers cartoon movie soundtrack. Which
and when you listen to it, wait, that was from. Oh, I don't know if this one was. Okay. Anyways,
you got the touch.
I didn't realize it was from that, but yeah, when I listened to it, I was like, that guy does sing it better than Mark Wahlberg. Although I'm sure he was trying to like intentionally sing it horrible just to.
I would hope so.
Now, one thing that in that scene that is interesting to me is, as a guitar player, when I'm watching them play, not "You Got the Touch," but feel my yeah. I think that John C. Reilly is actually playing that. I'm quite sure.
So here's the thing about that. He is.
Yeah.
He wrote that music part. Paul Thomas Anderson wrote the lyrics. John C. Reilly came up with the guitar riff.
And dude, the riff is great. I mean, it fits.
Dude, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
it's so cheesy and perfect, man.
I know awesome, it is. But that's one thing that I don't know. I mean, you would look at technical things in filmmaking that not everyone would catch, and I look at that all the time in music movies. I'm like, are they really playing that?
Right.
And to see that he was, I mean, there was no question in my mind. I'm like, that is that riff. Like, I can hear that it's in, in A or whatever, and you can see that that's what he's playing. It was kind of cool. Playing. And they're in Sound City Studios. Fucking love that.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, dude, it says that in there. It says Sound City Studios. And it's the room that you see in the documentary with like the control room where it's like carpeted.
That does make sense.
Carpeted walls and shit. I love that little tie-in.
That is cool. One thing that I don't have the CD, so I can either confirm or disconfirm this. But Paul Thomas Anderson said that the CD or the soundtrack starts off with them playing "Feel the Heat." It's just Mark Wahlberg playing "Feel the Heat," but there's a hidden track on the CD apparently that it has their version of "You Got the Touch."
I see that at the end of, because I guess is Michael Penn's The Big Top theme from Boogie Nights, and then it says / the touch. Okay,
is that what it is? Okay, because I didn't know on mine it doesn't say that that part, so I wasn't really sure. But that would be cool. Is it just like, I'm guessing it just comes in at the end, right? I mean,
that would be my guess. And I would also love it if they had done like a full version of "Feel My Heat," like with some hired guns, like on drums and bass. It would just be funny. Yeah,
it would be pretty great. Well, then I think the last real scene and song I want to talk about is not only my favorite of this movie, but one of my favorite
of
scenes
a lot of movies
of almost any movie I've seen. Yeah. And what I think is important to say is that the music is used within the scene. Like, it's the characters are hearing the music. It's not over the top for the audience.
I know. I was thinking about that too, because like all of a sudden Sister Christian like abruptly stops, right? Like it didn't make the whole tape.
And you flip it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and the cool thing about this and how that works is, you had to think this through a little bit. So Paul Thomas Anderson was basically like, okay, we're going to go from, Sister Christian Night Ranger, Sister Christian into
Ricky
Jesse's
Springfield,
girl, right?
man. Yeah.
So, but the only way to do that is to make a mixtape. And he even makes a comment. He's like, I make mixtapes because I don't want people to tell me what order to put stuff in, what order to listen. That is everything this show doesn't stand for.
I know. I was thinking that when I was watching. I was like, well, you are not going to be a guest on the Scratch a Track podcast because your view on albums is clearly fucked up from all that coke.
Exactly. But the way that the music and those songs are used within the scene, it's great how it builds
the tension, dude.
All the stuff that's going on. You got Cosmo throwing fucking fireworks and firecrackers, right?
Why is that fucking kid there? That is so weird. Like, everything about that is very twisted, man.
That was the 80s. There was a lot of blow going around. I mean, is that an excuse? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Exactly.
But dude, it's funny because I hadn't watched this in so long, and I don't know. watching it. I'm watching it on a screen, and I have headphones on. And dude, the fireworks are so fucking jarring. They're just like making me twitch. And dude, and those guys are about like a scrape away from totally fucking tweaked out, anyways. And you can just see them like sweating and like wanting to itch through. You know what I mean? Like, well, they're all about to lose it.
And then the song just builds up and just boom, explodes. But he was actually throwing real fireworks, and they didn't know. And Paul Thomas Anderson said that their reactions are real because, dude, they were fucking loud. Like, it wasn't like these quiet little things. And in the studio,
you throw black cats in a house, like that's gonna be loud as fuck.
Pretty much, yeah. So it's just the way the tension is built, and then you have that shot of, Mark Wahlberg, Dirk Diggler, and it just stays on him for like, I think it's a good 45 seconds to a minute, and you just see him processing everything that's going on, and he's having all these regrets, and he's like, man,
we gotta go.
I need to get the fuck out of here right now. The shit is about to get bad. Like, I was living this awesome life. I turned into an asshole. Like, I need to get the fuck out. And they try to do that, and all hell breaks loose.
Todd has a different idea.
He has fucking safe in the fucking bed. Safe under the fucking bed.
Now, I was going to mention too, is for some reason, and if you were to have asked me about that scene prior to rewatching the movie after, I'm going to say probably 10 years.
Okay.
I would have cited Sister Christian as like the seminal song in that scene, but I feel like Jessie's Girl is where it gets real fucked up. Like, that is where things just go through the roof is during Jessie's Girl.
Yeah, because things are getting intense, right? And then Sister Christian ends.
And that is a very jarring moment.
Yeah, that's when the tape flips.
Yeah.
Jessie's Girl comes in, and things start to really, really build, and you see Todd start to lose his shit, and he's getting freaky and frustrated, and that's when it goes crazy. And then there's actually a third song, which is 99 Luftballoons by Nina. Yeah. And it's interesting because that song plays, and it's playing just as they leave the apartment. Now, I watched this with my friend Julia this past week, and she thought that song should have continued outside into the car chase. Instead, they cut to Fat Man by Jethro Tull.
I know. I guess I don't disagree with her. I almost, it works for me that they do, but I could have definitely seen it the other way. And it was weird because this time they actually like get into some of Fat Man, whereas when the Colonel's like 8-year-old girlfriend ODs or whatever, they just play the drum part. They just play those intro drums.
Yeah. Yeah. So my take on why they cut it there was because all that music was being played from inside the house. We're now outside the house. So I don't know if it technically, I mean, they could have kept it going, and
it would have been pretty really distant at that. That makes sense to me though. There's a clear separation.
The thing with Fat Man though is such an upbeat, like what is that mandolin? What is he playing? Mandolin? I don't even know what he's playing.
Probably some sort of Indian instrument.
Yeah,
I think like sitar. Honestly,
I don't know. So, anyways. That's
some sort of Eastern thing?
It could be. It probably is.
It
should be. Yeah. And then, we have pretty much the end of the movie, and you kind of mentioned Beach Boys' God Only Knows. Yeah. And then it ends with the Electric Light Orchestra.
Yeah.
With the end credit song, which I like that song. I think it's good. It's a really good song. So now
there's only one other song that I want to mention because we may see it again on this show, and I always really like it when they're at the disco and it's got the real nice clavinet groove to it, and that is Machine Gun by the Commodores, and that's when they're on like the lighted floor, and it's super disco-y. But when I listen to that song, I'm like, I could definitely see a future where there's a songs of the same name, Machine Gun by the Condors and Machine Gun or the Commodores and Jimi Hendrix and Band of Gypsies.
Band of Gypsies.
I don't think that Machine Gun would have fit as well in the disco scene, but
totally, I agree with that.
Not even during the guitar solo, which is incredible.
It is. So, Grim, is there a scene and song pairing that does it for you, that you like the most or that you appreciated the most this time watching it?
Dude, man, that's a really good question.
'Cause there's a bunch of them.
I know there is,
really good
but
ones.
I think that first of all, I'm going to go ahead and extend this, and this will be on your plate too. What is your favorite song, not as it's used necessarily in the movie, but just what's your favorite song that's in this movie? Okay, so that's question number one. And does it correspond to your favorite scenes? So for me, that is Spill the Wine, dude. That song is so awesome. And I specifically wrote so many notes on that initial party scene because the music is just hell. I even think that initial party scene is Fat Man comes in there too.
Because that's where she.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much music in that whole sequence that I love that. But if it otherwise, I really like Joy. I was, I've actually been listening to that song a lot since then.
So. Oh, all right. Well, my favorite song, and it's tough because part of me wants to just obviously say, the touch and feel the heat, because fuck, man, they're really good. Do they have a band name? Do they ever had a name of the band, or is it just, they could have been Chest and Brock?
Yeah, Chest and Brock would have been. Oh, there was one little go on, but I have one side note.
Okay. Oh yeah, we should talk about the Cameo.
Yep.
Too.
But I want to know your favorite pairing and your favorite song.
Well, my favorite song is actually would be Sister Christian, Night Ranger, and but I also do like Jessie's Girl as a song, individual song as well, and them being together in that song, that whole scene is just phenomenal. I just love every element of it. I love the way the tension is built. I love the songs, how they're incorporated into the scene for the characters as well. It reminds me a lot of the scene in Pulp Fiction of Girl, You Will Be a Woman Soon. She turns on the reel-to-reel. Yeah. It plays. That's a part of the movie. It's not just around. It's not just on top of the movie. So
a little more elegant than a tape, but yes,
yes, a little bit. So that's what I got, man. And I do want to mention Michael Penn's cameo. So Michael Penn, the composer, if you guys know who Nick is in the recording studio, he's the producer.
Works at Sound City.
Yeah. He's the one doing the producing, and they talked about it, or Paul Thomas Anderson talked about it a little bit on the audio commentary for Boogie Nights, and he basically said that day that they had one whole day to shoot all those internal scenes where they're doing the touch and feel the heat, and then they're in the sound booth. They had one full day to get all those scenes. And so basically Paul Thomas Anderson told Mark Wahlberg and John C. Reilly that he just wanted them just to basically torture Nick or Michael Penn because he had never acted before. And they're like, they're just trying to keep a straight face the whole time, and it's just like almost
like
impossible.
When John C. Reilly's on the board and he's like, "Can you?"
He's like running behind him and stuff.
Yeah, and he's like, "Can you?" Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was a pretty cool story.
That is my last little aside, and this you I think would appreciate this, and maybe a few other listeners, like a friend of the show, Mike Stroshine. You know the part when they're watching like the Chest and Brock movie, and he does the whole thing. You hungry? Why don't you feast on this?
Yeah,
dude. There's this synthesizer in that scene, and it's kind of got that wow 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 wow. And when I heard that is basically from that scene is what I use for when I did the synth in Club Explicit. And so, for those who don't know this, I will use this as this will be the music bed for this episode, so you can hear that synth that really like floored me to use for a song of similar taste and content.
For sure.
So with that,
well, we've already reminded everyone to like and subscribe and comment below, which I'm sure you've done at this point because we've been talking for almost 30 minutes. So,
as Jack Horner would say,
okay, yeah. And so this is the second, songs that made the movie episode that we've done. We got a few more coming up down the pipeline in the next couple of weeks. But if there's other movies out there that you guys think would be cool for us to talk about and examine everything. I mean, we got a list, but obviously we miss a ton of shit too. So if there's some other really good movies out there that you guys think it'd be fun to talk about, or that just have great soundtracks, or music is really incorporated into the movie nicely, definitely let us know.
And this one's so dense. I mean, it was going to be a long one. Right. I think it'll only be rivaled by Wayne's World, which we may or may not do.
Who's to say? All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Grim, what do you say? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Time to go. Dude and Grim Show.
Scratch a Track is produced by the Dude and Grim. Additional music provided by More in the Tins. Copyright 2021. The Dude and Grim Show.